CMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today. We are at the CTIA show here in Orlando, Florida, CTIA 2011. On our program today is Chris Eber, who is the head of the 4G Strategic Product Marketing for North America at Nokia Siemens Networks. Chris, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and there's a lot to talk about. So I was hoping that maybe we could talk about some of the things that happened most recently at the Mobile World Congress show and some of your announcements there with the software-defined radio.
Sure. At Mobile World Congress, it was an exciting event for us in the sense that we brought the next generation of the industry's leading compact indoor-outdoor software-defined radio. And so we extended our Flexi family with the new Flexi multi-radio 10 unit. And that is a unit that uses our second-generation system on a chip, provides tremendous baseband capacity, and in one form factor, truly in software fashion supports GSM, 3G or HSPA, HSPA+, LTE, and will be the platform also for LTE Advanced, and we're very unique in the industry in terms of being able to have one platform that can serve all of those different functionalities and the capacity to do so with the work we've done with Texas Instruments and our system on a chip now in its second generation. In addition, we introduced other products that help address today's need to bring capacity to the end user. A microcell, a picocell, and a host of other solutions around the mobile broadband area that perform essentially a platform for what we're announcing today at CTIA. And so it was a successful event, and we're extending that further now with the launch of our liquid radio architecture.
So I'd love to hear more about liquid radio, because it's not it's a simple concept in theory, but in practice there are a lot of parts that come into play, right?
Yes, there are.
So let's go through the simple part first, and then let's go through the pieces.
Yes. So very simply, our liquid radio architecture is a suite of innovations that builds off what I just explained that we launched at Mobile World Congress and extends that even further. And what liquid radio architecture is all about is understanding that in order to meet the capacity demands on the networks today, you need to bring capacity right to the end user. And that means that this heterogeneous network concept that has become very popular, which is just simply having multiple layers of coverage. Your traditional macro sites, micro, pico, all of that working together with femto for Wi-Fi offload brings multiple layers of coverage into the network. And in the liquid radio solution, we make all of that work together so that the network itself, the capacity moves with the ebb and flow of the users throughout the day. And it's really interesting. A lot of people don't realize this, but at any given time, only 50% of the capacity on a network is used. And that 50% is in different spots of the day where it's being used. And essentially, when you think of that, if you can unleash that capacity with what we've done with liquid radio, we can dramatically help the carriers manage the challenges they have with maintaining 2G, evolving 3G, building LTE, and providing a transparent end user experience. And at the heart of that, it's a really special solution with our liquid radio architecture, and it's something that we're very proud of because it's needed in the industry and it's commercially available today. So it's ready at the right time.
So there are a lot of different pieces that come into play, right? So there's antenna systems and management, and so let's talk about those things.
Sure. Well, three key components that go beyond traditional radio solutions. So when you think about it, a lot of times at the shows, there's a lot of talk about what's. What is this and what is that element? With liquid radio architecture, we're actually explaining how, and not only are we explaining how all this comes together to make capacity dynamic, we're doing it with solutions that make it happen. And so there's three really important ones I'd like to spend just a moment and explain. The first one is baseband pooling. So I mentioned our Flexi Multi Radio 10 at Mobile World Congress. Because of the enormous amount of baseband capacity we have in those units, we can now take a baseband unit that normally would have been underneath a site in one part of the network. That capacity would have been for that site, built to always peak. It's like having all the lights on in the house and, everywhere all the time, right? Well, now that capacity moves, right? Now we can actually take that baseband unit and put it in a centralized pool of baseband units with up to 10 gigabits per second and more shortly, so that as users move across the network, the capacity that normally would have been locked underneath a given cell site in one part of the network can actually be used to help the baseband processing in another part of the network. As users there's a constant ebb and flow of traffic and demand. We unlock that capacity to serve that demand all automatically throughout the day. So that's the first thing. The second thing we announced is the world's first true commercial active antenna. And so when I say active antenna, what's different about what we've done, and there's a lot of theories and visions out there, but we're actually bringing it commercially available later this year, is that now the antenna array includes in it the power amplification, the RF, and the intelligence that allow direct vertical beamforming. And so what that means is we can actually target by spectrum very specific coverage to serve users in a given part of the network. So what's that mean really? For a carrier, it's a 65% increase in capacity at precisely the time, as we've heard here today and yesterday at the show, that capacity is really needed, and it's really a challenge. And when you think about having that active antenna technology commercially available today, it means that your investment for the future, as you move to LTE and you move to LTE Advanced, it means that your return on investment will be sustainable. So baseband pooling, active antenna, and the third piece, the stuff that makes it work, right? So there's our self-organizing network, which that technology is standardized and released 10, but very relevant for 3G as well. And our network
let's talk about that. Let's talk about the self-organizing network. How does that work exactly?
Well, essentially what it does is the self-organizing network concept means that you can actively, via software, manage the movement and the spectrum and the capacity of users as the demand changes. And it's really part of the standards for release 10, but what we've done is we've thought about that from a release 10 perspective. We thought about the needs of 3G, and together with our network management system, which includes our industry award-winning SmartLAN offload, to bring the femto part of it to bear, we've optimized it so it can actually manage that liquid movement and capacity in three really important ways. One, dynamically moving that capacity, so in off-peak periods, maybe it's at night or a time when everybody left the suburb and they're all in the city for work, baseband units can be turned down. Spectrum can be turned down, right? That concept of not having to have all the lights on in the house. Two,
I'm sorry, but why would we want to do that?
Well, very simply, when you think about it, we dramatically changed the business model for sites with our Flexi. And there's this if you're deploying networks, it's called civils. It's all those costs that traditional base stations had with shelters, 800-pound racks of equipment, air conditioning, battery backup, and so forth. And so that changed that equation. What we're doing with liquid radio is actually further optimizing the ongoing OpEx for the carrier, and it's very green as well, by not having all the lights on in the house, not having spectrum propagated when there's no demand there, not having baseband capacity at full tilt in a site where there's no usage for it, or
so
very
saving
little.
resources, saving energy, etc.
Yeah,
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, it's a tremendous optimization over anything that the industry's been able to do so far.
And that was point number one. So what was the next 2 points?
Okay, so you have the baseband pooling, the active antenna system, and then with with what we've done in our self-organizing networks and our network management system, we've automated that ability for the capacity to really come alive. And two other key points that it does that's really interesting. So carriers are going to have thousands of more sites. They'll be smaller and all different capacity ranges and propagation ranges. But what's really neat about what we've done is you can bring, say, a micro or pico for a very specific coverage purpose in, and it's plug and play. The network will actually configure itself. All this used to be done by some really complex driving around in trucks and so forth. This is plug and play, right? And then finally, and this is really special too, it does self-healing. So that if there's an issue at some part of the network, it senses that, and it can redirect capacity from neighboring sites and spectrum to address that challenge in the network. Well, then you can go about solving that problem. So, a lot of miles and trucks won't have to be driven, and we're really excited about this. We generally believe we are probably about 2 years ahead in the industry, bringing the right solution that's based off our proven software-defined radio platforms and the right set of innovations in the liquid radio architecture to meet the needs that are right here and now today, and that will be the continuing platforms for LTE and LTE Advanced in the future.
Now, in terms of deployments, it's soon, obviously, but where's that going? Do you have any? Are they coming?
Yeah. We are in trials in our baseband pooling and active antenna systems right now. The Flexi products are widely deployed around the globe.
Now, can you give us any big carriers that are beginning to look at this?
Well, sure. I mean, we right now, I would have to, I know you were going to ask me this, it's 180 3G customers, right, or more. We are number one in the world in 3G and HSPA and HSPA+. We're also the leading LTE vendor. And these products, the same suite of products, what's nice about this is we leverage what's invested in the network today. So the market is actually the market that we have today, which is number one in 3G and number one in LTE commercial deployments.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on the program. This was great.
Thanks.